The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Carlos Cesar.
Hey, Carlos is our regular Friday.
You're just Carlos now.
I'm just Carlos.
This is like Cheers. Everybody knows your name, Carlos,
Yes.
now.
I'm the regular guy.
That's right.
You're now the regular guy. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing for you, Carlos. You might get in trouble.
No, I keep telling myself, as long as we will disagree, I think I have a seat here. When we all agreed, my job is done.
That's right.
Well,
Then we're all.
Then you've got job security.
Then we're all brainwashed, like the city. Let's everybody agree on everything, and then we're
Because
good.
to have three guys talking about the same thing over and over again,
Yeah.
might as well not. One will give up. I will give up.
That's right. Well, but at least we're bringing the public another view. And, what are we going to do first? There's so much to talk about in the city. But I think we should start with the call for one of our city councilors to resign. After the report from the special prosecutor, which everybody, and even police officers I spoke to, who shall remain nameless, were mystified by that finding, because they said if it was anybody else, they would have had like 25 charges against them. Yeah. And if someone walked into the police station and gave them that scenario, they would immediately filed a charge. But then again, it is. But the Herald News and many media outlets are calling for the resignation of City Councilor Paul DaSilva.
I know, it's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? And it's like, well, there's outrage about this. They said he was not credible. Well, I'm going to give, there was an editorial about he should resign, and the mayor's going to ask him to resign. Well, I'm going to give, as we said, we don't agree all the time. I'm going to give you my opinion. I don't think he should resign.
Me too.
The fact is that, listen, if it took that report from a special prosecutor for you to figure out that he was a total incompetent as a city councilor, that he's done absolutely nothing, he's basically been a mute occupying that chair, and when he does speak, most of the time he says present, or I just started this job, so I don't know what I'm doing when I'm the committee head. And he's the committee head of a very important committee, public safety. So the fact is, after 3 months occupying that seat in the city council, everyone in the city should have been writing editorials about his resignation, because he's been a total incompetent as a city councilor. So what's changed? He's now no longer credible? He's never been credible. I mean, he hasn't done anything, and that's just my opinion. But you know something? I say, Paulie, stick it out, baby. Don't resign.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Chip. He don't have a crime record. He was not charged with anything. The only charge was he's a liar. We all know that.
Yeah,
what politic don't lie, throw the first rock.
There you go. What politician isn't a liar? You're
exactly.
Right. You're right.
So, and what it's worst is fellow councilors asking him to resign. If it was me, I will resign. No, you won't resign. I know for sure, if you on Paul's shoes, you will not resign. So why are you going on media and say, if it was me, I will resign?
Well, Carlos, I think what's interesting is that, everyone's calling for his resignation because of the credibility issue. And as Chip said, in our eyes, he really hasn't been credible. But let's look at the potential of what happens if he resigns. If he resigns, the next person in line, which is actually the person who finished 11th, would be Steve Long. A comment was made by the person who fielded the 12th position, Dan Botello, who said, if Paul DaSilva does resign, he's going to ask the elections office to verify the residency status of Steve Long. Because, again, rumors in the city, Steve Long lives in Westport, he lives here, and, you know, everyone's looking because nobody trusts government anymore. Nobody trusts the politicians, and they don't want to pull another Mike Lund, who lives on a ferry boat down at Borden Light Marina when there was evidence showing that he lived in Swansea. But we never pursued that. And again, his residency was the ferry. So, okay, no problem. Because residency requirements for voting is very weird. If you're homeless, for instance, because we do have a homeless candidate, your residency is where you fall asleep. So if you fall asleep at Father Travasso's Park, that's where you live. So again, you know, all Steve Long has to say is, hey, I sleep on the stairs of City Hall, and it's fine. But with Paul DaSilva, we have another issue, okay? You're looking at the fact that he was part of a conspiracy. You ask any police officer in the Commonwealth, and they would have charged them immediately. But this federal prosecutor, former federal prosecutor, let's get it right, that's right, let's not be called fabricators, hand-selected by Captain Clueless, okay, turned around and said there's nothing he can do. In all the case law I reviewed, and I'm not a lawyer, but I looked at it, the feds file conspiracy charges when they can't get him on the crime. They file charges to charge him on conspiracy, and they get him on that, and they put him in jail. So, personally, I think that this was just a water under the bridge. Let's brush.
Yeah,
brush
CJ,
under
but we have seen murders come out, get out, you know, and not be charged.
Oh no, I
murders.
Believe
okay?
me.
And as today, we still talking to them as is innocent because he was innocent, and he is I base my opinion on the facts, and the fact is he was not charged.
I'm not saying he's a criminal, and I'm not saying he's charged, but I will say one thing, okay? And you look at some of the history over the past couple of years, people have resigned from elected office for taking pictures of their private parts and mailing them to consenting adults, okay? Because their credibility went out the window. As an elected official, you're there to represent the people honestly. And if you cannot be contrived or believed to be honest, then you can't do your job.
Well, but we're in Fall River, CJ. This is this is a land far, far away. Where most people dare not go unless they're on the spaceship Inane, which will be another series. But so you'll be seeing mini episodes of the spaceship Inane very shortly on our show.
Yeah.
But the reality is, listen, to get back to the point, as Carlos said, he hasn't been found guilty of a crime, and in this society, unfortunately, innocence doesn't mean you didn't do it. It just means that you weren't convicted of it. I mean, the fact that OJ didn't do it criminally, he got a civil finding against him. The guy who shot many years ago, which really turned me off on our judicial system, that shot 28 people in the McDonald's out on the West Coast. I believe it was California, but he killed 28 people in the McDonald's, and he was acquitted because they didn't Mirandize him properly on a technicality. The man killed 28 human beings. And Alan Dershowitz, the great law professor, argued on television how that was the correct decision because it doesn't matter about the crime. The integrity of the legal system is more important than 28 lives. Well, Alan, I hate to say this, but if it was 28 of your relatives, you would have wanted the gas chamber, the electric chair, and 6 other forms of capital punishment for that guy because that's baloney. But the reality is, as I said, we get back to the bottom line. People are saying, well, with this finding, he's not credible. Well, shame on you, media, that thought he was credible in the first place. Did it take this decision looking at his performance, especially media outlets, reporting outlets? You've been watching him in that city council since the first day he occupied that chair, and he looked like a mute. For a while, people didn't even think that he knew how to speak. They thought that during the Pledge of Allegiance he was playing a tape, because that's the only time he spoke. So if it took this finding to figure out that he doesn't have any credibility, shame on you. But the reality is there are a lot of other city councilors that have no credibility.
And we have city councilors who are charged with crimes, and they're still city councils today.
And convicted.
And convicted. So why are we going to throw a rock to Paul DaSilva when we can take care of him in November? You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying, but I think one of the reasons why you can look at it and you can say that, because like you said, we have a city councilor who's been convicted of a crime. We don't have a question about his credibility. Okay, he's been convicted, and he's been very forthright about that. Paul DaSilva lied, and then lied about the lying. So, I mean, not that it's a big secret. At least with that other city councilor, he said, yep, I did it. Too bad. They're out for me. They got me. End of story. I paid it.
But again, that's our fault, because in Fall River, we keep voting because he's my neighbor, because I know the parents, because he looks nice in suit and tie. You know, that's the reasons that people go out to vote for candidates.
That's right.
They don't look if they can do the job.
Right, and they vote for him because they get a chicken sandwich or spaghetti and meatballs.
Oh, don't go with Chinese because I'm hungry.
Or a chow mein sandwich. You know, I mean, this is what they do.
And actually, though, CJ, didn't you ask Paulie for a comment?
Yes, we did, and you know, he was very forthright. And let me see if I can bring him on. Hey, Paulie, are you available? You know, because we'd like to know what you have to think about this. What do you think about the people of Fall River who, you know, are asking for your resignation? And, you know, what really happened in that chair? Can you come on board?
I know nothing. Nothing.
Thank you.
I guess we got it straight from him. So
We got straight from the horse's mouth. Thank you. We appreciate that. But
Yeah,
you know,
but let's wait for November, and then we will.
no,
we have a chance to.
Yeah, you're right, Carl. You know, this is it. You know, look at. To me, this is a clear indication of what's wrong with this community and what's wrong with government in general. You know, it took this for people to know. We should have known this in the first place. This is why we have the councilors in those chairs that we have now. How long has Pat Casey been incompetent, ineffective? A rubber stamp for every mayor. In 20 years on the council, she's voted for one issue against the mayor, and that was about a martial arts thing because she was involved in martial arts, and it was basically a total non. It was a total non-issue. It was baloney. But you know, like you said, it's time for us to understand that he's not the problem. We are. We put him. Well, not me. I didn't vote for him. But the fact is, you know, the voters put him there. Now it's the voters' job to get him out. But not only him. There are a lot of other people whose derrieres need to be removed from those seats. If we want Fall River to move forward, we have to get cut to the chase. That's why we're here.
And that's why I'm afraid of the new elections, because we do have a lot of new people running. Okay, but this could happen all over again, because I will not. If I think that I'm not qualified, I will not even pull out papers. And these people need to stop first and really think if they are qualified to do the job, and then pull up the papers, not do vice versa. Get elected and then, I don't know how to do this job.
Well, you're right. No, you're 100% right, Carl. But the problem is in Fall River, you know what they do? They look at the city council. And they look at some of the people in those seats, and they go, look, if they can sit in those seats, they know nothing. I mean, I can sit in that seat. They've been there for 20 years, and they don't know anything. Half of them don't even know what neighborhoods they live in. You know, and
I have to say, Paul, in behalf of Paul, I have to say this. He's a good kid. On the end, he's a good kid. He's brought up from a Portuguese traditional family and all of that. But one thing don't have to do with the other. You could be the greatest guy in Fall River, but that doesn't mean that you're going to do a job as a city council. And that's when people need to get, separate. When I go to vote, he's a nice kid. I know they're all family, but I don't think he has what it takes to be a city council.
Well,
So
that's
I'm
the
not gonna
problem.
vote for
That's
him.
the problem we have with government. Government is one of the most important jobs we have in this nation. It is the most important job because it forms the direction that this nation and cities and states go. And it's the only job that you don't need any qualifications for except people like you. If you're an auto mechanic and you suck, you'll go out of business because after a while people won't bring their car to you. If you fix air conditioning units and you can't fix them, you're out of business. In most other fields, if you're a nurse and you kill everybody, they normally fire you after a few. If you're an incompetent, you normally don't last in your profession. But in politics, people last, and there's a double standard. And people, I continue to say, this is not a democracy, it's not a republic, it's a constitutional monarchy. We have a privileged class, and that privileged class of politicians and rich people. Just look at the verbiage they use. When they call a politician and city councilors and people who are involved in a political issue, fundamentally, even though it could be a criminal act, because of the people involved, they said they were not credible. They didn't say they're liars because they don't use those terms. It's like if I look at you and you're poor and I go, you're crazy. If you're rich, I go, he's eccentric. Because they have a different set of rules. If you look at the way they're even referred to, as I said, if you're poor, you're crazy. If you're rich, you're eccentric. The thing is that's the way. And if you're a lawyer, they never say you lied. They said he was less than forthcoming to the court, even when they get censured by the Board of Bar Overseers. And I researched an attorney who was working for the city, and I compiled a dossier about 500 pages, and some of them were censures for lying to the court and lying in depositions. And they never once said the word lie. They used every other euphemism for lying. It was not credible. He was not accurate. He gave misinformation. But if you or I did that, we would be liars and we would be incarcerated. But that's the problem we have. And you're right. It gets back to, should this be the reason that Paul DaSilva resigns? No. Paul DaSilva should consider not running for city council, and if he does run, he should not be elected because he has proven, regardless of what kind of person he is, that he's a total incompetent at that job. He does not belong in the city council representing the people of Fall River. And I don't reserve that opinion just for him. There are a few of them in those council seats that shouldn't be there. I have disagreed with a lot of positions others have taken at times, but there are some that make an attempt and do a passable job. I don't think there are any great city councilors. The last great city councilor we had, and that's a classic example, I'll bring it up before I turn it over to you guys. There was a guy called Steve Walsh, who was on the city council. He's passed away since, died very young. It was a tragedy. The man was the worst politician I ever saw. Couldn't campaign worth a damn. That guy was the best prepared, most articulate city councilor I ever saw. He was engaged, involved in every issue. I went before the Public Safety Committee. He sat with me for hours, went over things, did his homework. He eviscerated the fire chief on public safety. He did it on all the issues. He was the best prepared, most thorough counselor I ever saw, regardless of whether I agreed or disagreed with his positions. By far, in my lifetime, I have never seen anybody even close to Steve Walsh. And he didn't get elected after a couple terms. You know why? People didn't care that he was a great city councilor. He was a crappy politician. He did not run well. He didn't go out and buy chow mein sandwiches and pat people on the back and tell people he didn't like that he liked them. He was just one of these kind of introverted guys who felt that his performance alone would keep him in. And the reality is he should have not only been the city councilor, he should have probably been the mayor of this community, and he couldn't get elected because people don't elect people who can do the job. They elect people who they like, make them laugh, give them a chow mein sandwich, every other reason except they can do the job, and that's what's wrong with the government.
And by what CJ just said at the beginning of the show, that people are already fighting for this seat. The minute we didn't even decided if he's going to give up the seat, it's already people fighting for this seat.
Right. And you know, the thing is, though, you know, we're talking about city councilors, and somebody came out, and, you know, I'm going to have to bring that person up, and that's right here. City Councilor Linda Pereira. One of the constituents posted to her Facebook page that they would not vote for her. And, you know, that's the right of the people. They can say, hey, I'm not going to vote for you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to deal with you. I think you're not credible, or whatever the case may be. And Linda came back with, you know, I hate to lose your vote, but, you know, but I have to make a vote that's to benefit the majority, not the minority, and we always have to make votes that people don't like. Hey, guess what? The vote was wrong, okay? The vote excluded business. When she took the vote, though, she made sure that the landlords were excluded. She made sure that the landlords wouldn't get fined, and she said very clearly, I'm not going to pay anymore for what my tenants won't do. So, as long as the vote went fine for Linda, the vote was okay. All right? And I don't have a problem with that. We all have our own self-interest. But again, now the people are starting to look at her. And as a matter of fact, that one little comment that you've lost my vote turned into a huge, huge, huge commentary section on her page. Okay? I would have by now, as the person who is on that page, who runs that page, whether she does it or not, I would have deleted that comment because there was tons of it. But now if she deletes it, okay, it looks as though she's trying to cover something up. So she can't win for losing on this one. But she should have been forthright right away.
Well, you know, we get back to the shared sacrifice.
You say I'm gonna throw something at you.
Shared sacrifice. Yeah, you know, you're right. But I mean, this is again, you know, a few years ago we saw the Messiah Melian up in front of the city council saying, let's reduce the tax factor on businesses. Now the businesses don't have to use bags. Who are we sharing? They're saying, let's dump it on the residents. Let's dump it on the residents again. And you know something? It's not about that. There was just a business just closed on Bedford Street. They opened up a little while ago. Very, very good food, ethnic food, very good. You know, but it was a pizza joint. It takes a long time. A lot of these people, I guess, they open up businesses. It's not for lack of the place not being good, but they don't understand basic business administration. That I think the rule used to be that you have to have enough money to not make a profit for your entire first year when you open, in order to be survive in a business, because you got to realize you can't anticipate it until people begin to get to know your business. Unfortunately, another business is closed.
So I don't forget to tell you this. I have three businesses on Pleasant Street that got their license suspended because the owner of the building owns the city $30,000. So here he goes. I reach out to Mike Moda. I reach out to Mike Dion. I reach out to the mayor. We need to do something. If this business keep leaving the city, it's not right. Let's see what can we do, you know, to make sure these people get the license and they get their business going.
And these people are paying their rent.
They're paying their rent.
They're paying their rent, and they're being victimized. Shared sacrifice.
I was gonna say, where's the shared sacrifice?
Shared sacrifice.
You know, we all gonna but you know what's really interesting is, if the city, and remember, they're going to fine these people. They haven't collected hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines already. But now that, you know, and we know they're not collecting taxes, all they had to do was go to these properties and say, you no longer pay the property owner. You've got to pay the city. We own the money. Get an order from the court, not that hard to do, okay, to put the lien on the rents. And then the city collects rent. That makes too much sense, right?
Yeah, but that needs to be done through the the law department.
Right, but this is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
This is what I'm saying. If the city wants
But
to collect
that
money,
could take
do
another year.
Only in Fall River does it take another year. Only in Fall River, because let me tell you something. If I default on my mortgage, okay, my bank goes to my tenants and collects my rents. I can't keep them. Now, if the bank doesn't do it, that's their fault.
Yes.
But that's what happens. That's actually in the contract.
And a lot of the cases, like this particular case, it's not because the owner don't have money. He just sold a very expensive building in Swansea. So he has the money. He just came from vacation, and he said to one of the renters that he went away for 3 months because he opened a business out of this country. And this is the second person that I know that owns tax to the city and goes to a different country and open business. To me, the banks should be after them for them to take money out of their banks and invest it in somewhere else when they're not,
But not only
paying the
that,
bank.
but you got to remember, Carlos, if you owe the city tax money, you normally get a board position.
That's right.
You know, that's the way it is. I mean, we get back to the resolutions that they love. The city council loves these meaningless resolutions. You know, I said on the other show, let's have a resolution. Let's have a resolution. Let's make an ordinance that anybody that owes tax money and is in arrears cannot hold a board position, cannot be appointed to any position in the city of Fall River until their taxes are brought up to date. I mean, why do we have people who are in some of the most influential positions around? It's just crazy. And I got to say one quick thing. You have people holding a resign sign for Paul DaSilva. Some of them are running for office. You know, why should you put a new guy in and let him get some exposure on the council? That's no good. But I will let you guys finish, but I'm going to give you, things are very, very dark in Fall River right now. And I'll end with my quote from Chairman Mao. It's always darkest just before it goes completely black.
You know, it's so true, but the thing that really gets me is that this is becoming an absolute scary situation. First and foremost, we have a mayor who goes publicly and says, you don't have a right to know. I am not going to be put under the microscope. You're not going to watch me, okay? His committees are meeting in secret. The mayor went on the air and saying, I'm going to meet individually with each individual city councilor and discuss the budget. You know, it may not be a legal violation of Mass General Law 30A, but it's a technical one, okay? But there's nothing anyone can do about it. And as a matter of fact, in today's Commonwealth Magazine release, they speak about how the newspapers have filed numerous lawsuits in regards to this. And it's costing them millions of dollars to get judgments against elected officials. And they want to do something I want to do and enact a law in Massachusetts, like is in Wisconsin, Texas, Florida, that makes every single meeting public, every single committee public. But, again, our state legislature, yes, I'm calling you people out in the House and the Senate, you don't have the gonads to pass such a law. Because, oh, wait a minute, you mean you're going to hold me accountable? Doesn't fly in my book. It just doesn't.
Hey, I have to give the hats this time to the mayor because he did made it to the last 2 neighborhood meetings.
I noticed that.
He made it to the Highland neighborhood and he made it yesterday to Bank Street. So, hey.
He hasn't been to the Flint yet, has he?
No.
And he hasn't been to Niagara. That's
Niagara
Monday.
3 times.
Yeah,
so,
and
you know.
Niagara's Monday. I want all our viewers to come out Monday and watch that meeting and be there. I'm actually going to televise it. So I want to see what people are going to do, knowing that the cameras are going to be rolling at the Niagara. And it's Niagara, 6:30, the Green School, use the back entrance, and it's in the conference room downstairs. And I'll tell you now, I'm hoping it's going to be an informative meeting, and I hope it's going to be a civil meeting, because that's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
You can't ask questions. You do not have a need to know.
I've been taking my notes for when it comes down to my neighborhood because, like I said, I'm not saying anything on the other neighborhoods. I don't want to take time from them. But when it comes to my neighborhoods, I have plenty of questions for him.
I'll be there, because I'm a Flint resident.
Oh, good. You know you live on the Flint?
I live in the
Hey,
Flint.
thanks for watching. We'll see
I know
you
where I
next
live.
week on Spindle City Straight Talk.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.